you know, for 175 years, it was okay in Canada to basically put trust in the public institutions, educational institutions and professional colleges, and even the political parties. You knew what they stood for, and generally they played the game straight. And that's flipped completely upside down in the last 7 years. And that's a terrible, bitter pill for Canadians to swallow. And most of them don't even know it's happened because their primary sources of news, like CBC, is completely corrupted by its $1.4 billion a year payoff from the federal government. CTV isn't much better. Most ordinary people have no idea where to get news. And so they're faced with this terrible conundrum, which is, well, either things have gone badly sideways, especially toward the left in Canada, or the people complaining, like me, let's say, are misogynist, and it's a hell of a lot easier to buy the latter than the former, and no wonder. But the unfortunate truth is, well, people can decide that for themselves. We'll walk through this again. I retweeted Pierre Poilievre. He's the leader of the opposition in Canada. And because of that, I'm being investigated by my regulatory body. My public reputation is at stake, and I may no longer be able to practice or describe myself as a clinical psychologist. And that's how it is. And it isn't just Poilievre. It's also the fact that I criticized Trudeau, and I criticized an Ottawa city councillor, and I made a joke at Jacinda Ardern. And it's not just fluke that every single one of them is on the left. And that's how we are in Canada. And it's not like I don't have some sympathy for the left. You know, I like Russell Brand. Brand does what he can to stand up for working class types against corporate overreach and corporate government collusion. And I understand perfectly well that there's a need for a left-wing political voice to stand for the working class, and especially perhaps against the depredations of monopolistic capitalists. But that isn't what's happening on the left in relationship to the sorts of things we're talking about in the least. And it's going to be very hard for Canadians to wake up to this reality. I see no evidence whatsoever that they've woken up yet.
Oh, not at all.
Not at all, no. So we'll see what happens when we make all of this public. The next step for the college is to haul me in front of a disciplinary board and, you know, rake me over the coals personally. And I don't imagine I'll accept their diktats when that happens. I can't imagine any circumstances under which that would occur. And then their next step is to publicly announce my refractory nature. They've already defined me as a repeat offender, by the way, highly likely to re-offend. Yeah, I know. Well, if the offenses are defined as saying what I think publicly, then it's pretty much certain I'm going to re-offend. But it's a hell of a terminology to be pasted with, you know, repeat offender with a high likelihood of re-offending. Well, I don't see how they can do that without admitting that the whole bloody thing was a scam to begin with. Because if it was just one complaint, they could say, well, you know, we've reconsidered and, you know, we may have acted too hastily. But when you do it 13 times, you know, 3 times is a pattern. 13 times, that's pretty much a decision. And if you have to announce publicly that you were wrong 13 times, you're probably so wrong that you're not fit for the job. Mm-hmm. So the alternative is I'm going to make this public. I've already told them essentially to go to hell, although I did it politely. And now they have to drag me in front of a disciplinary hearing, which I will make unbelievably public. And then because I won't move in that regard, as far as I can tell, I don't see that they have a leg to stand on. You know, not only am I being accused in the vast majority of the accusations of having unacceptable political beliefs, but half the people who complained claimed they were clients of mine. So procedurally, this is also a nightmare for them, as far as I can tell, because at minimum, they should have inquired in relationship to these claims that the complainants were clients of mine. They should have noted
Yeah.
to them that they weren't, and they should have required them to initiate the complaint process without falsehood. And they didn't do any of that repeatedly. And, you know, that's particularly germane because if the complaint is levied by someone who was a client, the college is obligated and also tends to take those complaints much more seriously and to facilitate their movement forward. So I think they've demonstrated such a brutal level of incompetence and corruption that I can't see that they have any way forward except to continue to pursue me or to resign en masse. And they're not going to do the latter.